Welcome to KC Cares, Kansas City's nonprofit voice, telling the stories of Kansas City nonprofits and the people behind them. KC Cares is the intersection of the nonprofit and profit communities, making Kansas City a better place to live, work, and play. I'm Ruth Baum-Biggest. KC Cares is proudly sponsored by the Ewing Marion Kauffman Foundation. Kansas City was given a gift in 1984 when the world-renowned dancer and choreographer Alvin Ailey, working with local art supporters, established our town as the official second home for his spectacular dance company. Known as the Kansas City Friends of Alvin Ailey, let's go fast forward 35 plus years later, and the organization is more than an artist in residence group. It's giving back to Kansas City in multiple ways, even during this historic pandemic year. We want to welcome from Kansas City Friends of Alvin Ailey, Melanie Miller, Chief Executive Officer,
Good
and
morning.
Tyrone Aiken, Chief Artistic Officer. And we are safely spaced from various places. All is good. We want our audience to know we're following safety protocols, but we're going to jump right in to all the excitement that has been going on for you all. And for anyone who has not heard of KC Friends of Alvin Ailey, Melanie, kick us off and share with us what the organization is all about here in Kansas City.
Thank you, Ruth. That was a fantastic introduction. Thank you so much. And you brought all the excitement that I think we continue to bring 37 years later. So as you know, that we were founded in 1984, and we have a three-part mission. At the top of it, it's to make dance accessible to everyone. And we do that as a presenter, by bringing the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater, or Ailey 2, to town, or virtually, as we've had to do for the past 2 years, by being an educator, and we offer a number of arts education programs for youth in Kansas City, and also as being a unifier. And we try to create a better understanding of systemic racism and to promote racial equity by bringing our communities together. So we've been doing that for over 35 years, and we continue to do it in 2021.
That is a big mission to have to deal with. I want to dive into the racial end of things, but let's first talk about the educating and the dance. Tyrone, you've been with the company, the organization, how long here in Kansas City?
26 years.
Oh, you're just a kid.
Yes,
And we should
26
tell
years.
we need to tell our audience though. Tyrone has had some big events in the last few weeks. He received his master's in fine arts and dance, right?
Yes, from Hollins University. Um,
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's great. But you've been here for a long time with this organization.
Yes, 26 years, and watching it grow and develop and change has been really wonderful and exciting. Thanks to both the Kansas City community, our board of directors, a wonderful staff, but really looking at what Mr. Ailey really wanted. He wanted to have an impact on the whole community, and he wanted to celebrate the beauty of the African American tradition in dance, in the arts, in education, in bringing people together. And so we've been doing that through a number of programs, and they're all incredible. And they starting with, as Melanie said, bringing the company in 1984 and really wanting to expose Kansas City to this world class sort of company. But it developed beyond that, where we created Ailey Camp, which is a national model camp that's based here in Kansas City. It is in cities across America. Last year, because of the pandemic, we had to shut down and be virtual, but we're going to be back in person this year for 2 camps. So we're really excited and overjoyed about that. We have our studio programs, and we are rooted in the 18th and Vine Jazz District. And so being there has allowed us to create some really important connectors, not only to the community, but also to the American Jazz Museum and the Gym Theater, which we use for some of our performances that we do for the community. And that includes our Ailey Trio performances, which are usually in January, our Setting the Stage performances, which is part of our African American History Month programs, and then also our events that we might do with our youngsters as a part of the studio program. We have classes for students starting in kindergarten through 12th grade where they can come in and take ballet or jazz or modern and learn a lot about history and the importance of really coming together as a community to understand other issues that we might deal with in terms of things around education, things around sort of community development. And we're really working with students on a lot of those initiatives to foster conversations, also with parents about sort of higher education and what are they going to do post secondary, when they get out of high school. So it's a myriad of things that we try to do to really link ourselves both to the community as a whole, the arts community on top of that, and then the greater Kansas City community in terms of not only Melanie talked a little bit about this idea of diversity and inclusion, but this idea of what it takes to have conversations that are about this idea of the impacts racism can have, or why is it important to have inclusive sort of spaces for people to be able to come together. And the arts is a great way to sort of enter into that sort of discussion. And so all of those things, like you said, it's a big mission, but it's all of those pieces that really make Kansas City Friends of Alvin Ailey what it is today in terms of the work that we're doing.
26 years is no short accomplishment. I mean, that's pretty spectacular. Can you share with us a little bit from those early days when you were with it? You gave us a great rundown of now. I want to get your perspective, and then I want to get Melanie's perspective. We should say you are a dancer, correct?
Yes, yes, sure.
Well, once a dancer, always a dancer. Doesn't matter if
Exactly.
you're putting on those tap shoes, 15 minutes from now. But I think you come at this from an interesting perspective, having been a performer yourself.
Yes.
How have things,
So, so I,
evolved?
so I think what's important to understand, and I've been thinking about this a lot, especially as I've just been finishing up being here in Roanoke, Virginia, at Highlands University, um, reconnecting with some of my cohorts and also some of the professors. It's an opportunity to talk about teaching and talk about the importance of the impact that we can have on someone's life. And there were teachers who made a huge difference for me in my ability to be successful in life. They believed in me. They were there to talk to and guide, and they were also there to uh, sort of be sort of a cheerleader in a way, or encourage. And so, starting back where we were when I got here in 1995, and I worked with the organization starting in 1991. Um, it was important to really look at how do we find what place means for us here in Kansas City. We had a space where we had offices, but everything we did was sort of outside of that office, which means any kind of community interaction happened outside. And so it was really wanting to eventually have a place that we could call home. And that's what's so wonderful about the 18th and Vine Jazz District. It is our home. But that took many years and many partnerships and lots of visioning, capacity building, and also the ability to sort of understand what we could be when we finally moved into our space in 2007 in the 18th and Vine Jazz District. So before then, a lot of the stuff that we did, all of it had to exist outside of who we were. And that meant that the organization would take a lot, not only our in school workshops that we do in schools, we're probably one of the biggest providers of workshops for modern dance in schools in Kansas City, but also um, things like our Setting the Stage or like our trio. Those things also had to exist in other spaces. Um, Mr. Ailey thought it was very important that we be in other spaces. So he thought it was important to have his company in hospitals. And we took the dancers to hospitals to perform. He thought the company, it was important for the dancers to be in prisons. And we took the dancers to prisons to make sure that there was a way to connect, there was a way to interact. And those were things because Mr. Ailey thought his dance came from the people and should be delivered back to the people. And so his focus was all about that idea. And that was something that was extremely important for us to be able to do. We also want to make sure that young people and Ailey campers get to see this wonderful jewel of a company, which is internationally renowned. And so it's important for us to make sure that there is an opportunity for young people. You can see them when they're watching Revelations and they're sort of just rocking back and forth. They're mesmerized by what they're seeing. It was important for us to make sure that they had access. They had access to those experiences that can be transformative because you get to see yourself on stage reflecting back to you something that is great, something that is incredible, something that is very much about how you create community. So what I want to say in those days, it was really about trying to make sure that we could continue to do that. And so over time, there are incredibly wonderful community partners, both on the individual level and on an institutional level, like one of your funders, the Kauffman Foundation, that really have been supporters and champions of the work that we do and make it possible for us to do some of this incredible work. So it's it's been great watching the organization over the years. And also, it's really important that we have a partner with Alvin Ailey Dance Foundation in New York because they're there to help make sure that what we're doing in Kansas City has a way of resonating with what they're doing in New York. And it allows us to make sure that we are not only following best practice, but also developing in arts education, in dance, in what's being presented and seen here in Kansas City. It has a national connection. So that's what's really been important about us over time.
I just love your enthusiasm about all of this. And you had mentioned, you have those mentors from your early dance teachers. I mean, I can remember mine, and I wouldn't bore our audience with my history because I want to talk about your history. But I do remember the first time I saw the Ailey Company and how striking it was and how impactful it was. So the fact that it's come to Kansas City and this is home outside of New York is a pretty incredible thing. Melanie, you came to the organization a little shorter tenure than Tyrone. Can you talk a little bit about your journey to the organization and what you are responsible for?
Absolutely. So, in reality, I actually came to the organization before Tyrone, and this goes way back in the summer that Kansas City Friends of Alvin Ailey was established. I was actually a college student. I love Alvin Ailey dance. I love Kansas City. I was asked to actually volunteer and do some volunteer work with the organization in that summer of '84. So I was a friend of Kansas City Friends of Alvin Ailey 37 years ago, which ages me a bit, but in an official capacity, I became the CEO in 2019. So I've been with the organization officially a little bit over 2.5 years, but I've definitely followed its progress and participated in its activities and supported the fundraisers for many, many years because I truly believe and live in the mission of arts and youth and diversity. I mean, I believe in everything that we are about. So my journey officially has been a little bit shorter, but I've been with the organization and familiar with it since its inception.
How great for you to have started, back when we have all that energy from college and motivation, and not that you don't have that now, but that journey of adulthood and getting to really work with what you grasped. Share with us. I'm getting the sense, and I'm sure our audience understands that Tyrone is all over the artistic. So from your end, what are you responsible for and how do you work together? I always think that that's an interesting thing for folks to understand, particularly when you have artistic and you have more business day to day.
Absolutely. So Tyrone is definitely, we're blessed to have Tyrone be part of this organization, not only because of his talent, his longevity, and his commitment to the organization. And he is our leader from the programming capacity. So he makes sure that we're in the schools, that we're in the community, that our programs are beautiful and executed well, and the content is valuable. So he is a very valuable person to this organization and to this community. And again, we're very fortunate to have him on board. And we work very closely. He and I, we talk a lot and coordinating on those components. And I'm really here to, I have the I support the overall organization, ensuring that the programming is in place and we have all the resources that are needed there, ensuring that working with our development team so that we can get funding for all the great things that we're trying to do in the community, working with the community. As Tyrone mentioned, we have an incredible staff, an incredible board, a fantastic community that we work with, and we are grateful for all of them because we could not do it without the support of those three groups of people. So we thank them profusely and just saying, we can't do it without you. So the appreciation is definitely there. I work with our marketing team to ensure that we're getting the word out and that we're letting people know about the work that we do, because we really like to fill the seats. We bring these beautiful companies and these works of art to the community, and we want the community to see them, because if you've experienced Alvin Ailey dance and you know that it is like no other. And to watch it and see it is a unique experience. So we want to make those opportunities available to the broader community, adults and children alike, and the diverse community. We are a community united by dance and diversity, and that we feel like that kind of just encapsulates who we are and what we try to do. The other part of our education piece, so we take our dance to inspire and teach kids to be better leaders or to improve the leadership. So through our dance, again, when we're inspiring, it's about even a bigger component than just learning how to dance. It's also just learning how to be a better, more confident person and believing in yourself as well. So there's just a lot of great things that we're doing through our programs and initiatives. And my job is to ensure that all of the pieces come together so that we can deliver on that mission.
You both have big jobs. I don't envy all that goes into it and all the hours. Give us, if you can, a little McNugget of impact. How many kids have come, let's say, through Ailey Camp? How many folks have seen what you're doing? And then I want to roll into that whole diversity, inclusion, racial aspect.
So I will say, in terms of our impact, in a normal year, we were reaching between 20 and 30,000 people a year. I would say COVID changed that greatly, and it slashed our numbers about in half because weren't able to do a number of things that we would have done. And so we're coming back, and we did pivot with a lot of things to an online process and platform. But we are now gradually coming back, and so in June we'll start to open up with in person, and I'm so excited for it because the as great as Zoom can be, it is very challenging when it comes to dance or movement or anything performative, because that community experience that you have is so enriching and important. It sort of builds sort of this experience that we're all having together at the same time. So getting back to that is so exciting.
Are there takeaways from the pandemic? I call them pandemic positives. We all know the negatives of it, and I can understand from a dance performance. I mean, we're all clamoring to be able to go to a theater or a concert. What were some takeaways that you think you all will keep in some form or fashion?
I know that this is a great way to pivot. So one of the first takeaways I've come to understand is that in a clutch or in a situation where you need to gather, this is a great alternative for that process. This is also a great alternative when, let's say, there usually was a snow day, or usually there was this thing that would happen where everything would shut down. Well, there is an opportunity to pivot again to something like this that would help. And then I think there are some gathering space events that work, especially some of our creative conversation space events that can work in this kind of space. I've also learned that it's very hard to maintain engagement over time in this space. That means as a short term or one off or short period of time, fabulous. A long period of time, that means anything over 45 minutes, that means anything that is repetitive in nature, it's harder to make work in sort of this. And I'll ask, I'll throw that to Melanie as well. What does she think about?
Right. I think we've learned a lot. I think number one, I think we learned that we are a resilient organization and that we can do whatever we set our minds to. A little bit over a year ago, when when COVID hit, we were we were about to launch our gala. It was scheduled for May 2nd, and we had to say, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? And we made the decision in late March that we would move forward with the virtual gala, which no one had any idea what that meant. But we figured it out, and we went on to have, I'd say, a very successful virtual production of everything we had intended to do in a live setting. And what that did is that gave us confidence, and we learned technology, and we learned that we could do it. We could execute on this new virtual platform, which again, we weren't familiar with. That gave us the confidence to go on and do a virtual Ailey Camp, which we were actually the first in the nation to do that. Of the camps, I think 6 others followed after we blazed that trail to figure out how Ailey Camp could be done in a virtual format, and went on we actually haven't canceled anything since that point. We just, as that overused word, we pivoted to a virtual format for all of our programs, the in-school programs, the studio programs, the first Fridays. We even created a new program called Courageous Conversations. We just did everything virtually. So resilience is one of those things that I think we learned. The other thing that sticks with me is that we weren't sure if we could continue to have the same level of impact. And I can tell you, when we went into our planning for Ailey Camp last summer, taking a 4 to 6 week live camp and trying to figure out, how do you take that curriculum and make it virtual? How do you keep kids engaged for a number of hours during the day when you're looking at them on a screen like we are at this moment? And we took a lot of leaps. We leaned into the national organization to create that curriculum, but at the end of the day, we modified our curriculum to be fewer hours in the day. We condensed it, and we did some things. Created virtual art camp, and it was so many different things we had to do to make it meaningful. And at the end of the 4 weeks, the kids had a great time. They gave us positive feedback, and we're like, we still have the impact. And just a quick story: about 3 weeks ago, I was in a healthcare facility visiting a family member, and I was wearing my Alvin Ailey T-shirt. And a nurse came up to me and said, "Are you with that organization, Alvin Ailey?" I said, "Yes, I am." She said, "Did you do the Ailey Camp last summer?" I said, "The virtual Ailey Camp?" I said, "Yes." And so she said, "Yes." She goes, "My daughter was in it." She goes, "Thank you for doing that camp. It changed your life." It was exactly what she needed last summer, to be with other kids, to be doing physical activity. She goes, "Oh, and that personal development, her leadership skills have changed forever. And, everyone's noticed. So thank you so much. It really had a positive impact on her life." And that's why we do it. And it was like, so, yeah, we felt like it was a good thing, and we were glad that we pushed forward and made it happen. But hearing that feedback from parents and families, the impact that it had on our kids, this keeps us going, moving forward, and lets us know that that what we do matters.
Kudos to you. And you did pivot, and that's okay. And you did leap, very appropriate for a dance-based organization. But Ailey Camp is happening.
Yes, it's happening this summer. It starts June 21st. It runs through July 16th. It will be at Paseo Academy of the Fine Performing Arts in Missouri and Gloria Willis Middle School in Kansas. And we're excited because we're going to welcome young people back into the space. We're going to keep all of the protocols that we need to make sure that everyone is safe. But it's going to be an opportunity for them to get back to what we do, which is create art, bring people together, talk about things that define us, but also talk about ways that we can reach beyond that. So it's an incredible uh, opportunity. there are some of the students that were virtual with us last year that are so excited that they're going to have an opportunity to be in person with us this coming year. And so I can't tell you how excited I am, and how important this is to our community partners who, after a year of being virtual, have just come back into their spaces, and that's the Kansas City Public Schools and the Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools. And now to have a situation where we're going to be in their buildings with students coming in to have this incredible experience, it's really exciting. And it's not too late for students to apply to attend. So they should go to our website and do that, because it's a once in a lifetime experience. And we're not the only camp. There are camps that are happening across the United States. They're all modeled on the camp that was created here with Mr. Ailey in 1989. It's where he made his last public appearance here in Kansas City in uh, August of 1989. He passed away December 1st of 1989. And so Ailey Camp is very important because it was the last thing that he created. It was him visioning about what he would have liked to have had in a camp that would be for young people that use the art as an empowerment tool. So I can't wait for camp this summer.
So just jete right over
That's right. Jete right
to
over
the
to
website.
kcfaa.org, right there. And you'll see a tab that says Ailey Camp. You click on it, and it'll take you to the application page.
Now, does the public get to see what the kiddos do at the end of camp?
They do. We will be setting up some way to either live stream or have an outdoor presentation. We're working on one or the other. Those presentation dates are set, which is July 14th in Kansas and July 15th in Missouri. But the exact location and how has not been finalized yet, but we're working on that.
Go to the website. We have just
Yes.
a minute or so left, and I wanted to have you all tell a little bit about Courageous Conversations, a new program that I bet you're going to keep.
We are going to keep it. It is a great program. It really is an opportunity for us to use part of what we're about. Our mission really has always been about bringing Americans together. That's why Alvin Ailey has the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. It was about us coming together. Um, but it's been very important for us to look at ways to extend that conversation into the community. I'm going to let Melanie talk a little bit about that because she's been very, very much important and involved in this process.
Right. Last year, when George Floyd was killed, our board, our advisory board, and staff came together and said, "What can we do to further this conversation to have an impact?" And we had a lot of different ideas, but what really resonated with us was this idea of courageous conversations, of bringing initially small groups of people together to talk about various topics relative to race. It grew and grew in popularity over the course of about several months. So we had 8 conversations in the past year. And they've been around the 13th and around various topics that we choose for the discussion. Audiences have grown from 20 to over 200. So we're going to continue to have these conversations. Check our website and Facebook page and Instagram to get more information. But it's continued to have an impact. And yeah, it's been a really good experience.
Well, kudos to Kansas City Friends of Alvin Ailey of being flexible, of all you bring to our community, particularly for youth. And as an arts lover myself, I love that, getting kids interested in the arts and that it's a cool thing to do, not just, for particular types of kids, that it's accessible to all kids. So again, we encourage our audience, go check out Kansas City Friends of Alvin Ailey, watch, participate, get engaged. And thank you both for your time.
Okay. And we have a gala coming up this year
Thank
as
you.
well.
That's right. Throw that in real
Charlie
quick.
Parker. I have to get that in. June 5th, celebrating Charlie Parker and with the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. It's going to be fantastic and hope you guys can come.
Absolutely. Thank you for listening to KC Cares, Kansas City's nonprofit voice. We're produced by Charitable Communications, a nonprofit, and we're proudly sponsored by the Ewing Marion Kaufman Foundation. If you'd like to be a guest on KC Cares or underwriting opportunities, please visit our website at kccaresonline.org and spread the love. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter at KC Cares Radio and on Instagram at KC Cares Online. And catch us on ESPN 1510 AM and 94.5 FM Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. Thank you for listening to KC Cares.